I've always felt that there's no point in building custom furniture unless it makes you say, wow. So when my neighbor suggested turning the front of this pedal board into a fretboard, something clicked. Turns out the dimensions of the frame were nearly identical to a real guitar neck. It felt meant to be. I had the perfect board for this component. A 100-year-old piece of reclaimed walnut. There's something poetic about wood. It can just sit untouched on a shelf for decades and then spring back to life with a new purpose. If you've got a sharp eye, you'll notice I'm building two of these. I love this design so much that in addition to the client commission, I'm keeping one pedal board aside, hoping to find another discerning buyer. And since I book matched the fretboards from a single piece of walnut, I like to think the quantum state of the two pedal boards will be correlated wherever they end up. Two boards grown from the same roots playing different songs. With the glue dry, it was time to call in the expert, my neighbor Dave. He's a luthier, and walking into his shop felt like stepping into a different sport. An instrument maker's attention to subtle curves and their willingness to trust their eye is truly a different world. We used his Supermax 1938 drum sander to dial in the stock to a perfect 3/4 of an inch. Pro tip, say yes when your neighbor asks you to help move heavy tools. It creates the good kind of debt between people. I learned how to calculate fret spacing using a StewMac template and the world's thinnest table saw blade, just over a millimeter kerf. When I asked why frets are spaced the way they are, Dave showed me a drawing that looked like guitar meets sacred geometry. Musicians, if you've got insights there, I'd love to hear more. I shaped the fretboard radius using a no-think method, sidewalk chalk and a wooden sanding block with a 20-inch radius. I'll be using this technique on future furniture builds, no question. I could see using this approach to easily add subtle dimension to a set of table legs. After sanding, I used a slot cleaning tool to remove any dust or debris. Basically a tiny table saw blade and a handle that clears the kerf clean for glue and fit. Next, we needed to pre-bend the fret wire to match the radius of the board. Dave made his own jig for that, a set of adjustable skateboard bearings that helps form a gentle arc in the wire.
You just kind of get it started in the end. Let's sort of give it a little bop on each end.
I cut each fret slightly oversized, pressed scallops into the tang with fret crimpers for better grip, and tapped them in with a hammer. Once the frets were all in, I clipped off all the excess wire before filing them down. I used a two-sided beveling file, first set at around 90 degrees, then at 35 degrees to clean up the edges. At this point, you could already start to feel the fretboard come alive under your fingers. You end up with tiny gaps under the frets, and Dave showed me a trick I've never used before. Fill the void with glue, then sand right over it. The dust from the board mixes with the glue and creates a perfect color match. I'll be using that in furniture work for sure. Before gluing the frets in place, I rubbed on some paste wax to keep excess CA glue from soaking into the grain. Then I used thin CA glue and a whip tip to wick glue down into the slot, one fret at a time. If you haven't used whip tips before, they're a game changer. They let you place glue exactly where you need it with surgical precision. After locking everything in, I smoothed and polished the frets using a set of fret erasers. They're color-coded rubber blocks with embedded abrasives, and they work well for getting into tight spaces. After a little buffing, my first ever fretboard got the acid test from Dave.
My fretboard is being judged by a luthier now.
Not bad.
All right.
Not bad.
Once everything felt right, it was time to add a little magic, the fret markers. I used 1/4-inch abalone dots for the face. drilling by eye and spacing them intuitively between the frets. Normally I'd measure and mark, but this time I wanted to trust my eye and just split the difference. The markers were already tight-fitting, but a little CA glue locks them into place. If things weren't already tiny enough, I added side markers too, just over 1/16 of an inch, filed flush with a fine crystal glass file etched with just enough bite. I may or may not have gotten impatient and slapped some sandpaper on the side of a paint stick. And finally, after contemplating how these fretboards were slowly filing down my hourly rate, it was time to hit them with some finish. I'm applying my usual 2 coats of Osmo 3043 with a white 3M applicator pad.